Okay, with Andrew Pritzker, Home Planet is the short film played at the Fantasy Sci-Fi Film Festival. It's got lots of mystery in it. Nice little, well-designed 26-minute short film. So, Andrew, you're in Kansas City, correct?
That's correct.
Via Philadelphia?
Yeah, I originally grew up in Philadelphia. I went to high school there. I stayed there till I was 17. Then I went off to Boston. Went to BU. I went to Emerson, graduated from Emerson, and then I relocated to New York. And I was trying to break into TV and advertising, and I applied to film school and I was accepted and I packed up and I went to LA. And I was there for 17 years or so. And then I moved to Kansas City.
Now you're a professor, right?
Not at the moment, but I was a professor and will be again.
So maybe you don't have no rooting interest, but there was just a Super Bowl. So you're born and raised in Philadelphia. You live in Kansas City. Who were you rooting for in the game?
Okay, this is the second time it's happened, and it's tough. But I went with Kansas City because I've watched
No.
every game the entire season. Uh, it was terrible not to be rooting for the Eagles on Super Bowl, but all of my family let me know how much they enjoyed the game. So we actually turned the game off. I couldn't take it anymore. So
You couldn't take it anymore.
no, well, I mean, it was a blowout.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant because it was the okay, gotcha. You won the first game. So I'm just before we get to your film, I'm from Niagara Falls, so I'm a diehard Bills fan.
Okay.
So it goes without
We
saying I
were
hate Niagara.
very lucky to beat the Bills
Yeah.
this year. Very
Well,
lucky.
but you can say that 3 years in or 3 years of the last 4 years, but it goes without saying I can't stand your team, right? So because you given me made me literally cry as a
Oh,
grown
well,
man.
consider me an Eagles fan then. Okay.
Okay. I'm just curious. Okay, so let's talk about Home Planet.
Okay.
Like I said, really interesting film, short film. So curious about what your because you talked about like these years, so we don't have to tell your age, but you had some life experience. So what kind of propelled you to do this short film?
Um, well, I'll tell you, I worked in film for a while. I was a screenwriter, I was a script doctor, and when I moved to Kansas City, I found that there was a really vibrant indie film community,
That's cool.
and I wanted to make films. I mean, it's digital films had caught up with my ambitions, and I did not see any difference between shooting on film and shooting on digital. In fact, I preferred digital. Uh, and because of that, I just got this feeling that I wanted to make something. And I uh, originally wanted to shoot a feature, but I was talked into doing a short first. This is not my first short, but um, it's actually my fourth. But I enjoyed the process. There's a great bunch of filmmakers out here, great crew members, great facilities, and I just uh, got into filmmaking. I was listening to an Ed Burns interview, and this is back in 2013, maybe 2012, and he was trying to get a film off the ground. And he said, there is no reason not to make a film now. There's no reason to just not do it yourself. And that set off a light in my head. So, jumping ahead to Home Planet. Um, I had this little notion in my head that, it kept coming up and it was kind of funny to me, which was that two cops out in rural USA would find a guy along the highway and somehow convince themselves that he was an alien from outer space.
Mhm.
And so I had written a script prior to this. And it once I did the budgeting for it, I found out it was just wildly expensive. And so I wanted to find something that was both meaningful and affordable. And so this notion just, came back in my head and I started playing with it. And it had a smaller cast. I knew exactly where I wanted to shoot. And once I found out I had access to the town and the town council was all behind it, because it's a little farm community outside of Kansas City, we just launched right into it. We went into pre-production and uh, in terms of feeling about the project, I first thought it was a comedy, and I've written comedy before.
Mhm.
Uh, but when I started looking into it and I started really asking myself what the story is about, it turned out it wasn't about funny cops. It was about this one person who they pick up. And why was he there? Who is he? What's he want? And
Yeah.
once I started asking those questions, it just developed into a very compelling story.
And there's still funny cops in the film as well. So,
Yes, there's so funny cops in it.
or doofus. So when did you write the screenplay? Like, how long ago did you write the screenplay?
I wrote the screenplay in uh 2023.
Okay, so just recent. Okay, so it's all a recent last couple years project then.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
it's a recent I did about 12 drafts on the script, and when I found it was, I thought it was in pretty good shape, then we moved it ahead. Um so yeah, it's fairly recent. We, went right into production, we went right into post-production, and we didn't finish it or release it until the end of 2024.
So tone wise, it is kind of has a mystery kind of tone to it. So because as an audience, we're like wondering, okay, what's even the title, Home Planet? It kind of could be a play on like what whose home planet, our home planet. You know what I mean? So there's mystery in the title as well. So we want to know what happens next. I'm curious about your process. You wrote the screenplay. It's just a really well photographed film. Like it's mostly outdoors, but mostly at nighttime, but it's really nicely done. I'm just curious, was your cinematographer the first person that you contacted for this film? I'm just curious about what your process is producing it.
The first person I always contact is the editor, my
Okay,
editor,
so you started at
David
the end.
Dobson. He's the one at the end, but you bring him in the beginning
Okay.
because he'll tell me what's feasible, what's reality, what he can do in post, and we talk about what effects could actually be done. And so once I start getting his feedback, and he also reads the script, and he's on board, then I know that's the project I'm going to be doing. Because once you get into post, you need that camaraderie, you need that shorthand communication with somebody. Uh, the second person was the cinematographer.
Okay. You
And
worked with them before?
no, first time.
Okay.
Uh, I saw, actually, I saw a few films that he shot at a film festival. And I really liked the work. And I knew that these films were shot on a shoestring, and he made them look beautiful.
Mhm.
And so I think, well, if I can give him a better shoestring, maybe I can get better results. And he's just a he's what I like about him is is not shy of giving his opinion. I like the camaraderie. I like the give and take, and uh, so I like when somebody has an alternate view. I might not agree with it, but it makes me think about my approach
Mhm.
and how it might be shaped. So he turned out to be a very terrific person to work with. And
So how did you
he,
set it up? Did you have like shot list? Did you storyboard? Like how was your preparation?
well, first day, obviously I wrote the screenplay, then
Yeah.
I storyboarded for myself.
Okay.
I used to just draw little stick figures, but I started using a program called Previs, and that allows you to use pre-drawn figures and sets. And I just found myself creating this whole idea of what the film should look like and angles and different setups. We didn't use them all, but that was a great starting point that I could share with the cinematographer, and he could, bounce ideas back. Um, so once I had the storyboard, then I had already showed him the script. Then I showed him the storyboard. Then we did casting.
Okay. So just to go back to his just I just want to make touch base with his lighting because it's really like I see obviously thousands of short films a year. And it's just a really beautiful job. Like even thematically, it's lit from a thematic level perfectly. Like it's there's always a light at the end. There's always a light in the background. Meaning that it's like the mystery. It's like what is that's your film, right? It's like
Right.
what is in the back? What is going on, right? And it's like
You
he
know,
did that with his lighting. So
that is all that a lot of that is pre-production
yeah.
because we have to know what lighting kit we're going to be working
Yeah,
with
of course.
and
Yeah.
how much, and what can be done. Um, Shooting at night has its difficulties. And I'll tell you about the two night setups. One was the lead character is he comes upon a farmhouse and he doesn't quite know what it is, and he starts moving towards the house. Um, we That's all one location, and it took about an hour and a half to light up the entire backyard.
Mhm.
Um, so we knew we didn't want to do a lot of setups. We had lights set up in this little barn right next door. We had light blasting out from the house. Uh, Without anything, it's out in the country, so it just would have been pitch black.
Yeah.
So we created these pools of light that we know we were going to shoot in. That's where the camera was going to go. And the Lucas Cohen, who's the cinematographer, he wanted to shoot the whole thing in one setup. He wanted a follow camera all the way through.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do that, you better have your lights set up and know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So we actually did that, and then we cut in for close-ups and that sort of thing. But the second setup was out in the cornfield, which was absolutely pitch black, and we had the UFO shot, um, which we wanted to do as a practical. And so we had a couple of lights set up in the field, and then we had to design how, because it was a drone, how this drone was going to come in and interact with the actor.
Mhm.
And so once we figured that out, we thought we would have to attach lights to the drone to give us extra illumination. But it turned out that the lights on the drone were just bright enough because when you have no light and you have that drone light, it just lights everything up.
Yeah. That's
So
so cool.
we were really pleased to see that.
That's so
Uh,
cool. Yeah. It's like so okay, let's you just let's so then let's talk about casting.
okay,
All Kansas City actors.
all Kansas City actors.
Nicely done. So basically you got your lead and then you got your three cops, the two male and the female, and then you got the suit, right? There's
Right, right,
always
right.
right the guy comes in from the outside. Uh
Oh,
Fish
I
out of
mean,
water.
the actors are SAG or they were Actors Equity.
So did you do
So,
like auditions for it? Like you do
oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah. We had auditions. I had an idea of who I wanted,
yeah.
but we did audition for every part.
Yeah. Because they're all perfectly like casted in their types. So
Right.
yeah, no, it's done. It's a really nice done job. Because you just don't because obviously you don't think about you think about actors like LA, New York, perhaps Chicago. You don't think of like a rich acting talent pool in Kansas City, but I could be wrong, right?
Well, some cities have a great local theater scene.
Peter, okay.
Indie theaters, rep theaters, so the actors can be quite active. Kansas City, they shoot a lot of commercials, they shoot a lot of industrials, and they do some network stuff. And now that Missouri's passed the tax incentive to bring films in, we're getting a few more productions coming in. So the actors are pretty well versed, and everyone had been on a set before. There was no one was a virgin. Everybody
Gotcha.
was,
Yeah, gotcha.
hey, they knew their lines. We
Yeah.
moved fast. We rehearsed. We discussed what was going on, and the film was shot in 4 days and 4 nights, and um, people don't they look at the film and they don't quite understand how it was done in that short amount of time. It was done with a lot of pre-production. I mean, we went to every set, every location, figured everything out before we got there, props, everything. So we had a good idea of what we were going to do. And uh, stop me from babbling, but um, the town itself, we shot on Main Street, and that really saved us a lot of time because on one side of Main Street was the police station.
Mhm.
On the other side of the street was the location with this dilapidated house where we did the arrest scene. And about a block away was the gas station.
Gas station.
So we were able to pick up and move quickly. So we had three major scenes, and that saved us a lot of time.
And
Just
then yeah, then you have like the country, the quote unquote like farm area in the second half of the film, and that's a different day, I'm assuming, during the day.
yeah, that was a different day. The thing about oh well, okay, the thing about the farm was we shot in October, and that's when they harvest corn. So uh, some of the corn existed, and we had scouted the road and where we wanted to go. 2 hours later, it was all gone. So if we wanted to do reshoots, we really couldn't. So
Yeah.
you had to move fast
Or you got to do the whole scene over again, I guess.
without corn. But
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so basically, so then okay, so you shot it in 4 days, nice cast, like perfectly casted, and then basically it was like so. It seems like you keep on bringing up pre-production. You're very prepared for this film.
yeah, I don't say I'm obsessed with pre-production, but I know the value of pre-production.
Sure.
When you get on set, things happen. Things change, sets aren't available, maybe it rains, maybe something happens. But if you know what the intent of your scene is,
Yeah.
you can make adjustments on the fly. You know what you need. And that's, it's just you got to keep moving because, time is money in film. You got to just keep moving.
You may laugh at this, but I was watching the film and I was like, "Oh, is he super?" Because it's like, is he Superman? Because it's like the Superman farm. Because it's just reminded me
Oh,
of
with the
like that
overhead?
the Kansas kind of like farmland kind of thing. So the house, the farmhouse, right? So, anyways,
Yeah, the
but it's like I
farm.
love the mystery aspect of it too. I even like the lens, the way you did the lensing, like the kind of like the fog, kind of like through like binoculars in a sense. I don't know how. Yeah, I'm sure you did that all in post, but it's a really
Well,
nice
we only
touch.
we did some of it in post.
Yeah.
It had a certain vignette that the editor added for the flashback scenes, but it happened to be that some of the shots that we got were they were just a golden hour, and the light was just beautifully diffuse and surrounding the actors, and so some of it didn't have to get touched at all. It was just that was all the cinematographer.
So what you did in this short film, and I don't see this. Usually, you're kind of broke a rule because the first half of the film is from the point of view of the cops, right? The two cops. The second half of the film, they disappear, and it's about the guy, and it's sort of you kind of change main characters or change points of view halfway through the film, We're like,
Well,
we're you like, because it's so funny you mentioned that in the beginning of the script. We like at the beginning, I thought it was a buddy cop movie comedy, but then I realized it was about the guy, and it's so funny because it's sort of like the second half is about you switch points of view in the film.
there is a twist, there is a switch.
Yeah,
Um, the lead character, Franklin Page, is really always the lead character because we're following him. The only scenes where he's not present are the police scenes, the cop
yeah.
scenes. And those scenes are about mostly about talking about him. Uh,
But even in the beginning of the film, where it's the cops are at the gas station, right? So
yeah, the cops are asking the question we're asking, who is he?
yeah,
Why is he there?
yeah,
And so we're finding out as they find out. But yes, the gas station scene was just to get you a feel for the town and their personalities.
yeah. No, it's a real, it's no, it's a nice touch because it's like I said, it's he's always lead character, but it's I'm just talking about from a camera point of view,
Right.
from a storytelling point of view. It's like you're always on. We're seeing what the cops are seeing, and all of a sudden it switches. Obviously, when they leave, when he disappears from the cop station, and then it becomes his film, right? So
It's yeah, it does switch. It switches. Um, it starts to switch at the arrest
yeah,
because the cameras are turned around and it's sort of a POV of these cops in his face, and it's menacing and it's mysterious and it's a weird experience for him. I think it's a weird experience for anybody who gets pulled over and the lights are flashing. But uh, so we see the POV shift a bit, and then it's just them interrogating him to find out what's what. Uh, he has well, I mean, he's waking up and just trying to figure out where he is and who he is and what he is. Uh, and then the notion takes over, like anyone else returning from war. I want to go home, and
mhm,
um, that drive carries over to the next. That's the shift
mhm,
because once he discovers what he wants, then it's a completely different movie.
exactly. Okay, so let's talk about post production. You already mentioned your editor. Who did your sound design?
Well, the sound was recorded by Wayne Gassman, who was also our drone pilot. So he did a great job on both ends. And then the sound was designed in post by Tyler Batchert, who's also in Kansas City, and he he did a great job. We had a running debate about there's a scene where you hear a door slam, the old screen door. And the first time he did it, he put it together. It was soft. And I said, no, we really need to hear that door slam. And we went back and forth about four times until I said, it's a story element. He refers to it. And then he switched it up and uh, he just created a beautiful soundscape for that
Mhm,
part of the film. So he works fast. He was very dedicated, and each person I worked with, the composer, Dan Stein, and J.J. Johnson, the editor, and Tyler. Um, I worked with them individually. So we did the editing. Then Tyler didn't want to touch the sound until he heard the score. So then we worked on the score, and then we took it to Tyler to finish it.
cool. Well, like I said, it's a really great film, 26 minutes long. That's a long, short film, but it really works. It's nicely paced, goes by fast. Like I said, two different kind of points, two different films, one at night, one during the day, right? It's like you cut the film in half in a sense. It's like really nicely done. So you happy with the final product?
I'm happy with the final product. I wanted it to be a tight film, and it is. And so far, the reaction to it is very positive. So I wanted to make a film that was going to resonate emotionally with the audience, and I'm pleased to see that I did. Uh, when we were shooting one of the reunion scene, I don't want to go into details, but the reunion scene, um, uh, we had the woman who owned the farm was standing behind me, and so was one of the producers. And so we shot the first take, and I thought, wow, that felt like something. That really, and I looked at the crew and I said, did anyone feel that? Did you feel that? And they're just they have blackened souls. They felt nothing. They were just there to
Yeah.
do the job. But I turned around and the two women behind me were crying. And I said, "Oh, think we got something." And
So you got on your website Quick Finger Films. So we'll put a link on the podcast. So you got this is your, like you said, your fourth film.
right.
The other three films. So in the last like 6, 7 years, you've made this is your fourth short film. What's your goal with these films? Because I know some of them are streaming right now. All of them have won awards at festivals, including this film. Do you want to make a feature film? Is that what your ultimate goal is? Or you want to do TV?
Ultimately, it's to make a feature film, but what we're going to do is make an anthology feature out of the three shorts, and we're going to stream that. So it'll be like Tales from the Crypt or Twilight Zone, where you'll have three different segments, and there'll be a spine to tie them together. And we have enough material for a short, so we're hoping that we can launch that. Uh, the next script beyond that is another short. Um, Features cost a lot of money, and if I uh, went with my original idea of shooting a feature, well, I would have a feature by now. Was it going to be a good feature or a bad feature? I don't know, but I know it would be an expensive feature, and there's only so much cash to go around.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I don't have a problem shooting shorts because I love like Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock Presents and tight stories, well done. Um, they're just little morality plays, and that turns me on. I like that.
Cool. So it filmed entirely in Missouri, and basically nicely done film. And like I said, you could check out your other films on the website. And are all of them are online now? I know this one's not, but is the other ones online?
They're both EPG and Devil's Food Cake are streaming on Tubi as well as some other streamers. EPG is also on Amazon. Um, and also on YouTube TV. They're on
Gotcha.
YouTube,
On
so you
YouTube.
can check them out.
Well, congratulations on the film. So let's talk again when you make your next film. I love to talk to you more about what you're doing, and this is great. Really great job.
Well, thank you very much, and stay in touch. And
Yeah.
I'm happy to be part of the festival.